Hello, everybody. Good to see you all. We'll start the meditation in just a minute. I wanted to just let you know that with the meditation, for instance, I happen to like a particular type of sandwich. So that's in what I talk about. If you have something else you like to eat or a detail, it's fine to substitute it with what you enjoy. That's not an issue. The other thing is, I often don't look like I'm having much fun. That's part of Parkinson's, but I really do enjoy this and teaching, so don't let my sour face bother you. Okay. I'm going to try and talk slowly for the interpreter. Here we go. Okay, so please close your eyes, get comfortable. Oh, Well, see, I've already started wrong. Let's start with offering the mandala. So please make the mudra. Here is the great earth filled with the smell of incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the four continents wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryataya Me. Now we'll go for refuge. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, I will reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. Okay, now get comfortable. Relax your shoulders, get your head level. Eyes lowered or closed. Spine straight. Okay, we'll watch our breath again for 2 rounds of 10. Now go for refuge in the fact that the teachings this weekend will help us change our behavior in order to really protect us and to have us be able to truly help other beings. Next, develop bodhicitta. Think of someone you know who's having trouble, mental, physical, or emotional. Think how much you would like to be able to help them and grow that feeling in your heart. Perhaps you can come up with something you can actually do to help them. Invite your holy being to come and meditate with you. Put them in the air in front of you, a full-length prostration away, life-size, smiling, happy that you are doing this practice. They're at your eye level. Now mentally prostrate to them, thanking them for their good qualities. Make them an offering. A really nice one is some part of your practice you did well today or yesterday or the day before. Next, confess the wrong deed you have done, perhaps in the last 24 or 48 hours. Replay the mental video. Determined to try hard not to do it again. Next, rejoice. Tell them the specific goodness that you've done, and be happy about it. Next, ask for teachings, both formal and informal. Realize that your practice is 24/7. You may do your on-cushion practice in the morning, your mantras or whatever. But your practice is 24/7, 365 for the rest of your life. Finally, ask the teachers to stay, pray for their long lives, and continued involvement with us. Need to shift a little bit to get more comfortable, please do so, then we'll start the meditation. You've been struggling through a thick, dark forest with the trail seemingly going nowhere for what seems to be forever. You are tired from having carried a heavy backpack that contains everything you possess. Things are even strapped to the outside because you have so much stuff that you feel you cannot live without. The stuff hanging off your pack catches branches and has made the trip through the forest very difficult. You're all scratched up, you're hot, you're tired, you're thirsty. For some reason, you look up from the trail and you see that you're nearing the edge of the forest, finally going to be through it. This perks you up. As you step out into the clearing from the forest, you see below you a meadow with a farmer's market in progress. On the other side of the market is an open-air cafe, and you set your sights on it because you are hungry and you're thirsty. You see beyond the cafe a swiftly flowing river with an ornate arched wooden bridge crossing to the other side. You can just barely see an adobe structure, and at its entrance appears to be a cluster of guards for some reason. Just ahead of you and spread across the width of the meadow are vendors with all kinds of produce: broccoli, potatoes, Brussels sprouts, different types of lettuce, zucchini, fresh apricots and grapes, several types of apples and peaches, fresh bread. There is also a section of the market for vendors of household items. The market is full of people looking around at the vendors. You step into the clearing, eager to be amongst people again. You start to make your way through the cafe, noting which vendors you will come back to after you eat. Luckily, there is a booth with tote bags nearby, so you can gather more things. Oh boy. You have to gently push past the people. First, you are gentle, but they start to push back and grab at what's strapped to the outside of the pack. Seemingly everybody for themselves. They want what you have. You gently slap their hands, defending your stuff, all the while trying to get to the cafe. This scene is like someone living life in denial of their inevitable death. We constantly struggle to get what we want or think we need. We struggle to protect our stuff from people that think they need it. We use up our good karma and create negative karma without a moment's hesitation. This is our image of the problem of not meditating on death. Without meditating on death, without having death awareness, we will never come to see how useless and petty much of what we do really is. And because of that, we perpetuate this cycle of life, samsara. You break out of the crowd thinking there is something wrong with this picture. You cannot go on like this. Something has to change. The thought dissipates as you near the cafe tent, drawn in by the smell of fresh bread, roasted vegetables, the thought of a cool drink, maybe even an iced coffee. You enter the cafe, find an empty table, and take off your backpack. You've been craving a fresh mozzarella cheese and roasted green red pepper sandwich, and as if by magic, there's one on the menu, so you order it together with a large iced coffee. The server delivers it. As you eat your meal, you begin to think about what you might want to get at the market, and just how big that extra tote bag's going to have to be. You finish your meal with the intent to go back to pick up stuff. But as you pick up your backpack and feel how heavy it is, you realize you actually need to get rid of stuff instead of getting more. The stuff in the backpack represents all our unnecessary possessions, relationships, inaccurate beliefs and opinions, activities, the kind of things that you worry about and which makes up the large part of your suffering life. You go to the bridge, you come to the center of the bridge. You reach the top, you put the backpack down, and you open it This represents the benefit of doing a good death meditation. You start to throw items over the bridge railing, identifying them as you do so, and sincerely saying good riddance. As you do, you notice similar objects on the pilings for the bridge support below and realize someone else has been going through the same process. Everything in the backpack represents all of our unnecessary possessions. You pull out a canteen, and perhaps it represents the big house mortgage that you struggle to get out from under. The reason you bought that house was everybody at work, all your friends have houses. They no longer have apartments. You wanted to be like them, so you got yourself a house that you can't really afford. And what that means is you have to work harder, work longer, and that begins to be a cycle. The flashlight is your need for the latest cell phone. Everybody in the office gets a new cell phone every year. So you have to feel you have to as well. The camp stove is your habit of eating out constantly because you don't like to cook. And it's another reason you have to work so hard, because you don't really have the money to pay for the habit unless you work extra hours. The bedroll is that friend that just likes to go to the bar and argue politics. Same thing every Friday night, 6 p.m. You meet him or her, you go to the bar, order a beer, and start reviewing the latest politics for the week. You realize now that nothing really ever changes. It's just complain, complain, complain. And you don't think of what you need to do to change that. Without meditating on death, without having the death awareness with you every day, you'll never come to see how useless and petty much of what we do really is. And hence we perpetuate this cycle of life. Not everything you do is wrong. That's not the point of this. The point is to think of all the things you do by habit and what you can change to develop a true death awareness. You pick up your pack and continue across the bridge, having gotten rid of all those things without regret. You cannot have regret. If you're not sure that you can get rid of something, keep it. Give yourself another month or two. You're over the bridge. The backpack is now very light, but you're still dirty and hot and tired. You look ahead and you see a gauntlet of armed guards that you must pass before you make it to the meadow in front of the adobe structure. They are brandishing swords and maces and whips. They represent the other kind of death meditation that we aren't doing. The one where you practice the terror and death of panic of death. You know this and muster your remaining strength and courage and run right past them before they can react. Suddenly you find yourself in a peaceful, beautiful meadow, lots of flowers, freshly mown grass. You're carefree, you're refreshed and clean. You no longer have the backpack. You're carefree and you walk slowly towards the building. You walk up a 7-step landing made of granite, leading up to a tall, ornate, carved yellow door. On the door are the words, "Death is certain." You open the door It swings in to the left into the room. It's cool and it's dark inside. As you step in, you see that the room is circular. You shut the door. You hear a sound to your right. It sounds like a growling animal, and sure enough, it's a large, vicious dog. All you know is it has large teeth and it lunges at you, but it's restrained by a chain to be just out of reach of you. It's snarling and snapping, can't wait to sink its teeth into you. This is the Lord of Death, and if he gets a hold of you, your death is a certainty. When your karma for this life wears out, it's as if the chain restraining the beast breaks and you are done for. You move to the center of the room and see a large hourglass standing on a table waist high. The opalescent sand is flowing down quickly. This is your life leaking away. The hourglass is affixed to the table, so you can't turn it over and get more years of life. Nothing can stop the flow. You can't take a rest. You must move on. You look beyond the table and see a corridor leading from the room. Because your life is slipping away, you run through the opening into the corridor. Along the walls are images of all the different teachers you've had, teachings you've attended. You run by with a sense of urgency, not being able to stop and think about each teaching. You're propelled past them by an unstoppable force. Your karma for life is running out. The corridor is quite long, and finally you slow down and carefully look at what is on the wall. The last certificate is from ACI Course 15, and you realize you've been putting off finishing the review courses. You just don't have time. But if you want to teach, the best thing if you want to teach the ACI courses is to finish all 18 courses. Those blank spots for the 3 review courses represents never enough time to study. At the end of the corridor is a green door with a sign that says, "Time of death is uncertain." You open the door to the left, step into a triangular room. You're at the apex of an equilateral triangle, and the base is just across the room with a red door on it. In front of you is a glass and chrome table with a calendar on it, with your 72nd, in my case, 72nd birthday circled. You recall that lifespans are not fixed. To think you'll live to the average age is a fundamental ignorance that you have accepted as true. It's just an estimate. Half the people don't live that long, half the people live longer. You don't know when your karma for life is going to run out. You walk past the table with a calendar, and you find yourself in a setting like your living room at home. You see all the stuff in the living room, but you know that somewhere in there is a tripwire that will set off a bomb, a metaphorical bomb. This is a realization that there's so much that can kill you and so little to sustain you. So you look around your living room and you think, what in this room could possibly kill me? The beautiful coffee table from IKEA with sharp corners. You know, and you remember when you bought it, you thought, those corners, what if I tripped and fell and hit my head on that? That could kill me, but you bought it anyway. The reading lamp next to the couch, next to the table, that flickers sometimes, has a switch that gets really hot. Sometimes when you touch it, it's due to the faulty wiring and you really should fix it. Your kitchen is next to your living room. You walk into your kitchen and your eyes settle on the toaster that is plugged in. You remember a friend telling you that one day they were at breakfast, one morning at breakfast, and suddenly their toaster spontaneously caught on fire. You remember about the battery charger from your first battery-powered drill melting from faulty wiring and starting to smoke just as you came back to your workshop to check on how it was charging. You leave the kitchen, walk out of the setting towards the red door, across a thick white rug, and you feel something prick the sole of your foot. Look, you sit down in a chair, look at the sole of your left foot shoe, and you see that you've stepped on that thumbtack that you dropped a week ago and neglected to pick up. You take off your shoe and sock and see that you're bleeding slightly. Great. Now you have a puncture wound, and puncture wounds are notorious for getting infected. You really should do something about it, but you put it off, not right now. This helps you recall the body is very fragile. A mutation in your DNA from a cosmic ray are due to a pollution chemical. Very small things can affect your life very greatly. Now you're in front of the red door, and on it there's a sign that says, only the Dharma can help. You open it to the left and step inside. You enter a corridor like a greenhouse. You can see outside, but it is one-way glass, so no one outside can see you. You stop, you look on both sides of the corridor, and you see your loved ones and your closest friends. They're having a good time and seem to be unaware of you. You bang on the glass to get their attention, which you can't. So thinking, hey, don't forget me. I get angry, they have forgotten you. This is to remember that they will forget you. They don't come with you when you die. Continue walking, and now you see a room on both sides that is full of all your stuff, but it's disorganized. It's as if strangers have been going through it, tossing things out of the boxes, looking for stuff at perhaps like an estate sale. You'd always thought you would organize everything to give away, but you never quite got to it. So now people are just rummaging through your belongings. Anybody will get what they want. You can't take any possessions with you, and you're upset that you cannot get to them or that others don't care. Organize your possessions. Have a will. So when you die, you're not thinking about who's going to get what. Now you're at the end of the corridor. You find yourself in a morgue. There's a corpse on a gurney. You're looking carefully at it, and it's your body. The face is featureless, unrecognizable, but you know it's your body. This helps you remember you cannot take your body with you. Your face, your name, your identity of this past life are gone. So what does come with me? My karma, my bodhisattva vows, and nothing else. You turn back to the corridor and see a white door with the word 3 resolution. You open the door again to the left. You step into a turret-shaped room, like in a castle. High up on the wall is a diamond-shaped window, and a diamond-shaped beam of light shines down into the center of the room. To your left, leaning against the wall, is a staff, a wooden staff with a silver handle. You reach with your left hand, and it's important that it is your left hand. Take the staff, and it fits perfectly, like it was made just for you. As you take it, you say to yourself, if it is sure that I'm going to die, I decide now to start my spiritual practice. You take one step forward, starting with the left foot towards the sunlight, but not in it yet. As you do, you pound the staff on the ground and hear the sharp noise that it makes. This represents your decision. If I don't know when I'm going to die, I must start my spiritual practice now, and I will quit my worldly way of thinking. That means you will think it's not my karma but it's my karma so. It's my karma ripening, so I need to react with wisdom, not reflexive, not with anger or irritation. Step forward again with your left foot into the sunlight. Raise the staff high over your head. This represents your decision. If nothing but my spiritual life can help me, then I devote myself to my spiritual practice. There is no point in doing anything less, and I strive for the highest practice. You look to the right and see a door of royal blue shimmering. You lower your staff and point to it. It is the highest spiritual practice. On the door are the words Dakshin Namje, exchanging self for others. The door opens on its own to the left. You step through and find yourself in a small restaurant. You walk up to the maitre d' who recognizes you and immediately takes you into one of several small rooms adjoining the main room. The rooms are linked together with openings, but no doors. A person is reading a book in a reading chair against the far wall. And when you enter the room, they get up and you both simultaneously go to the dining table that's in the middle of the room. It's a beautiful teak table. It has a blue tablecloth and it's set for 2. Next to it are 3 large ornate serving carts with chafing dishes keeping warm several main meals, which is a tradition in this restaurant. There is no menu. The cart has main meal, cold drinks, and dessert. After you both take your napkins and lay them in your lap, as the other person turns to look at the serving tray of the main course, you focus your eyes on their eyes to ascertain which of the main courses they're looking at with the greatest attention. You then take that plate of pan-fried potatoes and lentils mixed with roasted green chilies and sliced olives, seasoned with caramelized onions and curry sauce that they're looking at, and you place that in front of them. This is the physical level of serving others. You look again at their eyes and see which drink they linger on, and you hand them a glass of water on the cart with lemon, no ice, that they turn their eyes to. This represents serving their emotional needs. To complete the meal, they look at the dessert selection, and again you watch, and again you see that they focus their attention on a piece of chocolate swirl cheesecake. You pick that up and give it to them. This represents fulfilling their spiritual needs. All of that represents the first level of bodhicitta. You excuse yourself and get up and go to the next room where there is another table. This time it's an oak table with a yellow tablecloth, again set for two. As you enter the room, the same person is again sitting at a reading chair and gets up and joins you at the table. The same set of serving carts are there with the same choices of meal. This time you ask the person to sit in your spot and you sit in theirs. You're trying to think like they do, acting out of awareness for others' needs. As they think about dinner, beverage, and dessert, you are them and you get it for them because you are thinking and know in advance what would make them happy because of your attention to the detail in the first room. The distinction of you and them is still there, but it's fading as you try hard to anticipate their needs as much as you concern yourself about your needs. What is fading is your habit of thinking of yourself first. It is not as if you're physically becoming them and losing your identity. This represents the second level of bodhicitta. You get up and again move to one more oval room. At the center is a small cafe table with a checkered tablecloth and two chairs. As you walk into the room, the same person gets up from the reading chair and joins you at the table, and you both sit down. There's a spice cake with cream cheese icing in the middle of the table. There's a ball of red string next to the cake. You get up from your chair, you pick up the ball of string and unroll it, laying it on the floor counterclockwise, encompassing the table and the chairs, and you tie it together. Then, as the person's watching, you deliberately step inside the circle. This represents breaking down the distinction between yourself and the other person. This represents the third level of bodhicitta. You both pick up your forks and, mirroring each other's movements, magically take the same piece of cake. That both of you eat the same cake at the same time represents that it's incomplete to make efforts for our own happiness when billions of people are equally wanting to be free from suffering. The practice of exchanging self for others is a difficult concept to truly grasp, but it is critically important that you are not losing your identity, but rather expanding your sense of self to include others. You get up and walk to a silver door. You open the door and you see a beautifully wood-paneled, hexagonal-shaped room. This is where this meditation joins the Lamrim meditation on the path to enlightenment. Now, please keep your eyes closed. Return to your Lama before you. Ask them to come into your heart and stay with you. They are thrilled to be asked, and you rise up. They rise up, turn to face the same way you are, shrink down, come to the top of your head, shrink to the size of a BB, descend through a tube of blue light to your heart, where there is a tiny room from the outside, but from the inside it's big, with a lotus flower that has a center cushion made of sunlight. They sit there and stay with you. We leave this meditation with the following powerful thoughts and conviction. I want to be happy and free from suffering. Everyone wants to be happy and free from suffering. I now know what prevents me and others from being totally happy. So I will try as hard as I can to become a totally enlightened being so I can really be of service to other people. I will try and mold myself into a happy person, an ultimately happy person, so that I can have this influence on others and lead them to the same state of happiness. I will stop my aging, illness, death, and rebirth. I will reach my ultimate happiness, but only so I can help others reach theirs. Please keep this last thought in your mind. It's from Tsongkhapa's Golden Harvest of Attainment. I will free all those who have yet to be freed. I will save all those who have yet to be saved. I will comfort all those who have no comfort. I will deliver all beings beyond grief. Let's dedicate the goodness of these classes to realizing the most uncommon thought of concluding that breaking down the border between yourself and others is the key to stopping your own and everyone else's death. Okay, you can open your eyes. Let's dedicate this. By the goodness of what we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. Thank you for the opportunity of teaching you this wonderful material. It had a profound effect on my life, and I hope it has a profound and positive effect for you. The meditation took 45 minutes. That's a long time if you don't meditate much. I will be sending you a written copy of this. I think we'll have to figure out some way to get it translated into Russian. I would like to see everybody do the meditation for a month. If you can't do the meditation as meditation, then please read through the written description. So that's all I've got. If there are any questions, please ask. No questions? Okay. Really do this practice. Let me share something from my wife's, my experience with her parents passing in a plane crash. This is what got us started on our Buddhist path. We got a phone call from her brother asking where her parents were. We knew they were flying up to the wine country in California. We were in Tucson because the Coast Guard had called him and told him that a small plane had crashed in the ocean off of Half Moon Bay. Well, it was her parent. They died in a small plane crash. Two wonderful people. So that made us start a search, particularly my wife, for why something like that would happen. We weren't Buddhists at the time. So she searched and finally found a Buddhist teacher that came to Tucson and taught a course on Tonglen. And she was so struck by what he said that he got very serious, and we signed up to take a course by one of His Holiness's students that lived in Tucson to prepare us for His Holiness's visit to Tucson. So we learned a lot about Tonglen, giving and taking, expanding our sense of self to others. And what struck both of us was karma and emptiness. What happens in this life is due to your past deeds. It's due solely to your past deeds. It's your responsibility. That led us later to going to Geshe-la's first teaching in Tucson about the Diamond Cutter Sutra. One of the hardest courses next to logic is course 6, the Diamond Cutter Sutra, because it's packed with the difficult subject of karma and emptiness. So that's the first course we took of the ACI courses. And interestingly enough, we both were so thrilled to have a teacher that taught homeworks, quizzes, final, just the way we learned in college. So we immediately signed up and got a huge box full of back in the day cassette recording of the teachings and started the classes. Then one day we got a call about the need to set up some yurts in the desert about 2 hours from here. Was it possible we could help? And that started our relationship with the concept of Diamond Mountain. It all came from the event in our lives, a tragic event of my lovely wife's parents passing away. Something's going to happen in your life that's going to cause you to think about this. And now you're prepared. Now you have a way to deal with it. So I hope nobody has that kind of thing happen, but it's going to. You respond with wisdom. It's a training like this. The other point I wanted to make was when my wife met her siblings at the parents' house in Culver City, on the kitchen table was a 3-ring binder and the safe deposit keys. And in the note, in the 3-ring binder, was a note that started with, if you're reading this, we have passed away. Here is what you need to do. Here is where the safe deposit boxes are. Here are the bank account numbers. And most importantly, in terms of what they must have had on their mind as they were dying. They left a list of who got what of the family possessions. So when they died, I imagine they didn't die thinking, oh, I wonder if Tom's going to understand who gets what, or is Bruce, or is Susan, or is Tim, or is Ann going to understand this? It was all laid out. So I urge you to do something similar. Don't put it off. You don't want those kind of things on your mind when you're dying. You want that all taken care of. Well, on that positive note, thank you again for the chance to teach you. And if you have any questions, you can get my email from Svetlana, and I'll be happy to try and answer them. Okay. For those in the US, have a nice afternoon. For those in Russia, good evening, sleep well, and wake up tomorrow morning and do your death. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear teacher. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.